Okay, you have to tell me if I'm going crazy. Seriously. Because I think she blocked me. Audrey, my sister. I was just trying to send her that stupid cat meme, the one that looks like dad when he's mad, and the message just, poof. It wouldn't go through. That little red exclamation point, you know? My thumb was literally shaking as I tapped over to Instagram. Nothing, just a blank profile. User not found. Facebook. Same thing, I even tried calling her. Straight to voicemail. It won't even ring. It just ends. And for what? Because of a few comments. A few constructive, anonymous comments on her little blog. Her little Audrey's Grand Escape, or whatever she called it. I mean, God, someone had to say it. Who else was going to? Mom and Dad? Please. They think everything she does is just a brilliant expression of her free spirit. Someone had to be the adult in the room while she was off planning to throw her entire life away for some Instagram-filtered fantasy. She quits her job, a good job, a stable finance job that she was actually good at, to go wander around Southeast Asia with a laptop. And I'm the villain for pointing out that maybe, just maybe, that's a monumentally idiotic idea. It's always been like this, you know? You can't say a single critical thing to her without her completely falling apart. It's not my fault she can't handle a little bit of logic. A little dose of reality. For her, everything is about feelings. Well, sometimes feelings are wrong, but this, cutting me off completely, it's just a tantrum, a full-blown adult tantrum. Honestly, it's insane. I was just trying to help. That's all it ever was, for her own good. You get that, right? It all started a few months ago, I guess, at Sunday dinner. Mom made that dry pot roast she always makes, and Dad was going on about property taxes, and everything was just normal. Then Audrey clears her throat. She has this way of doing it, you know? Not a real cough, but a little ahem that makes everyone stop talking and look at her. And she was just beaming, genuinely glowing like she'd discovered cold fusion in her bedroom. So, she says, clasping her hands on the table, I have some news. I gave my 2 weeks notice on Friday. I'm quitting. Dead silence. Mom dropped her fork. I just stared at her. Quitting? Her job at Kensington Financial? The one with the amazing benefits, the 401k matching, the one that finally got her out of that tiny apartment and into a decent place. I'm going to be a digital nomad, she continued, the words spilling out in a happy rush. I've saved up enough for a year, maybe more. I'm going to start in Thailand, then maybe Vietnam. I'm even starting a blog. To document the whole thing, I'm calling it Audrey's Escape. An escape, God, I could feel this, siren going off in my head. It was like watching a toddler run towards a busy street, smiling and holding a lollipop. The sheer, blissful ignorance of the danger. Everyone else was like, oh, how wonderful. So brave, but I saw the whole disaster playing out in slow motion. Her money running out in 6 months, getting sick in some country with no health insurance, coming home broke, and having to start from scratch at 30. I tried to talk to her later that night, you know, just us. I cornered her in the kitchen while she was packing up leftovers. I was gentle, I was logical. I laid it all out. The career gap on her resume, the instability, the safety concerns. I wasn't yelling, I was just presenting facts. And she just smiled. That soft, infuriatingly placid smile of hers, like I was a cute but dumb dog barking at a car. She put her hand on my arm. Phoebe, she said, her voice all warm and syrupy. You just worry too much. It's going to be an adventure. And that was it. She patted my arm and walked away. That pat. It was so condescending. Like my very real, very logical concerns were just cute little anxieties. That's when I knew. Talking to her face to face was useless. She was high on this fantasy, and she saw me as the boring, practical older sister trying to ruin her fun. She couldn't hear the logic because it was coming from me. She needed to see the cold, hard truth laid out in black and white, from someone she couldn't just pat on the arm and dismiss. Someone objective, someone who was undeniably right. It took me like 5 minutes to come up with the name. Logicleap. I thought it was perfect. Anonymous, a little bit corporate, totally unassailable. It sounded smart. It sounded like someone who knew what they were talking about. I created a new email, signed up for a commenting account, and I was in. I was a ghost in her machine. A few days later, her first real post went up. Taking the leap, first stop, Chiang Mai. It was exactly as cringy as you'd imagine. All these sun-drenched, oversaturated photos of her new backpack and her passport. the text was even worse. Full of garbage like trusting the universe and following my bliss. It was practically begging for a reality check. So I gave her one. I didn't just dash something off, you know? I really thought about it. I poured myself a glass of wine, sat down at my laptop, and I cracked my knuckles. I was going to be her anonymous mentor, the secret guide she didn't even know she needed. My first comment was a masterpiece of objective concern. I broke it down into 3 sections. First, the professional angle. I wrote about the reentry friction she would face in the job market after a year-long, unexplained sabbatical. I used terms like skill atrophy and eroded professional network. I made it sound like I was a recruiter. Second, the financial breakdown. I took the budget she'd so proudly posted and I tore it to shreds. Politely, of course. I was like, this is a great starting point, but have you factored in visa renewal fees, emergency medical evacuation insurance, or currency fluctuation risk? A 10% swing in the Thai baht could decimate your third quarter budget. I think I actually used the word decimate. God, it felt good to be so sharp. Finally, I touched on safety, but not in a hysterical, you're going to get kidnapped way. I was more subtle. I linked to a few consular travel advisories and a news article about a recent scooter rental scam in Phuket. Just planting seeds of doubt, just helping her see the full picture. I hit post and leaned back in my chair. I swear I could breathe easier. It was like I'd finally lanced a boil. I hadn't been mean, I had been precise, I had been helpful. I was protecting her from her own naivety. And what did she do? A day later, she approved the comment. And she replied, "Thanks for your perspective, Logicleap. Lots of great points to consider. It's always good to be prepared." A smiley face, a goddamn smiley face. It was the arm pat all over again, but in digital form. The condescension was infuriating. She wasn't getting it. She saw my meticulous, well-researched argument as just another perspective, like it was on par with some other commenter saying, "OMG, have fun." So I knew I had to keep at it. Every time she posted about the magic of a sunrise, I'd ask if she'd calculated the cost per sunrise against her dwindling budget. Every time she wrote about the kindness of strangers, I'd post a link to a documentary about tourist traps. I was her shadow, her voice of reason. I was doing the hard work, the necessary work of pulling her head out of the clouds. And I was convinced that eventually she would thank me for it. And then the most annoying thing happened. People started to like it. Like, really like it. Her little blog started getting a following. Not a huge one, but a small, dedicated group of, like, yoga instructors and crystal enthusiasts who would leave these gushing comments on every post. "You're such an inspiration, Audrey. Living the dream, so brave. Don't listen to the haters, follow your heart." Haters, they were calling me a hater, me. The only person telling her the goddamn truth. They started replying directly to Logicleap's comments. This one woman, Wandering Wendy or something, wrote this whole paragraph about how my fear-based scarcity mindset was a product of a broken system, and that Audrey was bravely deconstructing those paradigms. I mean, what does that even mean? It's just word salad, but it got under my skin. It really did, because they were winning. Their vapid, empty encouragement was drowning out my cold, hard facts. And I could feel the whole thing shifting inside me. It wasn't just about protecting Audrey anymore. It became about being right. I had laid out a perfect, logical argument, and these hippies were dismissing it. And Audrey was listening to them. It felt like a personal insult, so I took the gloves off. My comments got sharper. When she wrote a post about feeling lonely, I didn't offer sympathy. I wrote, "This is a predictable emotional consequence of severing professional and familial ties. Perhaps this loneliness is your subconscious recognizing the inherent instability of your current path." When she posted beautiful photos of a temple, I commented on the naivety of Western tourists romanticizing cultures they don't understand. I started using words like escapism and performative. I told her she was running away from real life, not running towards some grand adventure. The final straw was last week. Another family dinner, and all anyone could talk about was Audrey's amazing blog. My aunt had it pulled up on her phone. "Oh, Audrey, this picture of the floating market is just stunning. You look so happy." Dad, who barely knows how to use email, was beaming. My daughter, the world traveler, the writer. I just sat there, swirling the wine in my glass. my jaw so tight I thought my teeth would crack. They were all celebrating this fantasy. This reckless, irresponsible charade. And they were looking at me, with this little hint of pity. Like poor Phoebe, with her sensible job and her mortgage, while her little sister is out there really living. I could feel it. The injustice of it was choking me. I went home that night, and the anger was just buzzing under my skin. I opened my laptop. I didn't even think. I went straight to her latest post, something about the beauty of letting go. And I just let her have it. Let's be honest, I typed, my fingers flying. This isn't about finding yourself. This is about running away from adult responsibility and building a personal brand on a foundation of family safety nets. It's a performance. You're not an adventurer. You're a girl playing dress-up for an audience, hoping for enough likes to convince yourself you're interesting. The rest of us, who stay and build actual lives, are the ones paying for the stability you take for granted while you find your bliss. I hit post, and for a second, all I felt was this clean, cold sense of victory. I had finally said it. The one thing nobody else had the guts to say, I had won. The next morning, I woke up with a weird, sour taste in my mouth. A little hangover from the wine, maybe, but also from the venom of that last comment. I told myself it was necessary. A final, powerful dose of truth. Shock therapy to wake her up. I made my coffee, sat down at my desk, and did what had become my morning ritual. I typed the URL for Audrey's escape into my browser. 404 not found. The requested URL was not found on this server. I stared at the stark, white screen. My heart did a weird little stutter step. I hit refresh. Nothing. I tried again. Still nothing. The whole blog, it was just gone. Wiped clean from the internet. A tiny sliver of panic wedged itself in my chest, but I pushed it down. Hard. See? A voice in my head said, the same one that sounded a lot like Logic Leap. It worked. She finally gets it. She's seen the light and realized how foolish this whole thing was. I actually felt a flicker of pride. I had done it. I had saved her from herself. I decided to play it cool. I picked up my phone and opened our text thread. I scrolled past the last thing I'd sent her, that stupid cat meme, and typed out a new message. Hey, was trying to check out your blog, but the link is broken. Everything okay? I hit send. A second later, that little red exclamation point appeared next to my message. Not delivered. Okay, that was weird. Really weird. Maybe her phone was off. Maybe she was on a flight with no service. My mind scrambled for a logical explanation, but the panic was getting bigger now, harder to ignore. My thumb, moving almost of its own accord, tapped over to Instagram. I searched for her name. Nothing. Just a list of strangers with similar names. I went to my own profile, to our tagged photos. All the pictures of us together were still there, but her tag was gone. Just black text where the blue hyperlink used to be. My breath hitched. Facebook. I already knew what I would find. I typed her name into the search bar. The little profile picture I knew so well was gone, replaced by the generic gray silhouette. Blocked. The silence in my apartment was suddenly deafening. The coffee on my desk was cold. I was completely, surgically, and methodically cut off. She hadn't just deleted the blog. She had deleted me. The finality of it was terrifying. It wasn't a fight. It wasn't a dramatic, I hate you text. It was just a quiet, digital execution. One by one, every single line of communication had been severed. There was no argument to be had, no explanation to demand. There was just nothing. The world had never felt so quiet. The weeks after that were blurry. I became this weird, obsessive detective in my own life. I'd find myself typing her name into Google a dozen times a day, just hoping for a crumb. I felt like a ghost, haunting the edges of a life I was no longer a part of. My breakthrough, if you can call it that, came from the most random place. I remembered her mentioning a forum for solo female travelers once, some niche website with a terrible design from the early 2000s. I spent a whole night scrolling through posts about packing cubes and malaria pills until I saw it. A username, Audrey Away, that was just so her. She had only made one post. The subject line was, "Dealing with a persistent online troll hater." My blood ran cold. I clicked on it. "Hi everyone," her post began. "I'm new here. I recently had to shut down my travel blog because of a single, very dedicated anonymous commenter. This person knew everything. They knew my financial anxieties, my professional insecurities, my secret fear that I was being irresponsible. Every argument they made was so logical, so well-structured, it felt like it was coming from inside my own head. It was familiar in a way that was just heartbreaking. I had to stop reading. I put my head in my hands. Familiar in a way that was just heartbreaking. She knew. Of course she knew. How could she not? Who else would know exactly where to stick the knife? I forced myself to read the rest. She wrote that for a while, she almost gave up. That the comments had almost convinced her she was a fraud, a silly girl playing a game. But then, she wrote, I realized that their goal wasn't to help me, it was to make me smaller, to make me stop, and I just decided no, I'm not going to let one person's bitterness poison my journey. At the end of the post, she wrote, I've started a new, private photo journal for friends and family who are actually supportive. No more public posts for a while. If you want the link, DM me. And then she added, to the person who did this, if you ever read this, I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for. I'm going to go find mine. Underneath the post, someone had replied, and Audrey had shared the link to her new site. My fingers were trembling so hard I could barely click it. It was a simple photo gallery. No long, soul-searching text, just pictures, dozens and dozens of them. Audrey on a boat in Ha Long Bay, her hair whipping in the wind, laughing so hard her eyes were squeezed shut. Audrey covered in colorful powder during some festival in India, grinning, surrounded by a crowd of smiling strangers. Audrey sitting at a rickety table in a cafe, her laptop open, but she's looking out the window, a small, contented smile on her face. She looked strong, happy, unburdened. There was a lightness to her I hadn't seen in years, maybe ever. She was thriving, not in spite of me, but in the complete and total absence of me. She had moved on so completely that my campaign of logic and reason was nothing more than a forgotten bump in the road. She wasn't thinking about me at all. She was just living. And she looked so good doing it. I closed the laptop. The screen went black, reflecting my own stupid, blank face. I just sat there in the dark for a long, long time. I won, right? I mean, technically, I won the argument. I drove her off her public platform. I proved my point so effectively that she had to delete the evidence. A perfect, Pyrrhic victory. And what did it get me? An empty inbox. A contact I can't call. A sister who is now just a collection of sun-drenched photos on a stranger's website. I thought I was the smart one. The logical one. The one who saw the world for what it really was. I built my arguments like a fortress, brick by logical brick, to protect her. But I wasn't building a fortress. I was building a wall. And I built it so high and so strong that I walled myself out of her life completely. She's out there, finding her bliss, or whatever you want to call it. And I'm in here, in my sensible apartment with my sensible job, choking on all my right answers. I was just trying to make her see, I whispered to the empty room. I thought I knew better. How funny is that? I was so obsessed with proving I was right, I never stopped to consider that I might just be, completely and devastatingly, wrong. I'm the one who's trapped, and she's the one who's free. God, what a joke. I'm the one who knows nothing at all.